We have something exciting for you today. Hey guys, welcome back to At the Table. Today we are going to be talking about healthier breakfast that you can do that's also going to be a really great make-ahead breakfast. So as we get into the holidays, we start to get really busy. We might not have a whole lot of time to spend on our breakfast, and we might need something that's a little bit more grab and go or something you can quickly reheat. A lot of times we are focused on so many other gatherings or cooking for other things, other events that we have going on during the holidays. So this is a way to just make a big batch of a few different recipes, have it in the fridge, ready to go, ready to just be reheated. And so it's something you can do once and not have to worry about it for the rest of the week if you have a busy holiday week. So we are going to start off with egg muffins, and I absolutely love egg muffins. They're just a really great way to get some vegetables in. You also have your eggs for some healthier protein, and it's just a really easy, quick breakfast that you can just heat up. So what we're going to start off with is those vegetables. Now I have our pan on medium. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit because it's a little, this stovetop gets a little warm. So I've turned it to actually medium low, and I'm just going to add a little bit of our olive oil to our pan. We're not doing a whole lot, but this is just to saute our vegetables first. You can absolutely skip this step if you want to. I personally do not like onions raw, and I would just prefer my onions and bell pepper to be cooked in my egg. When you actually put it in the oven, it's not going to cook it as thoroughly as if you had sauteed it first and then added it to your muffins. So they still might, if you like a good crunch with your onions or bell peppers, leave them raw, throw them in your muffin tins, and cook them in the oven that way. But if you don't enjoy them that way, you can saute them ahead of time. So we are just gonna let our pan get nice and hot. Our oil's looking pretty warm now, and we're just gonna add our onions. So you can do any vegetables that you enjoy. I mean, you can absolutely just make this whole recipe your own. If I had mushrooms, I would probably add those in here with it. If you're sauteing your vegetables, just be mindful they will cook down. So go ahead and maybe add a little bit extra, because as they cook down, you still want to have plenty of vegetables to spread throughout your recipe. So we are just going to let those saute real good. I am not going to saute the spinach. You could absolutely do that ahead of time if you want, but I'm actually just going to throw that in the bottom of our muffin tins and let it do its own thing there. All right, so up next we have our eggs, and this is gonna make a whole pan of muffins. So 12 muffins, and we are gonna use 4 eggs and 4 egg whites. Now you could absolutely do all whole eggs if you wanna go that route. I like to do a mix of both just because it does help me still get a lot of that good protein that you get with your egg whites, but it cuts back on some of that saturated fat. Now, as far as throughout, you're spreading this across 12 different muffins, so it's not really like you are using a whole egg per muffin anyways. It's not a whole lot of saturated fat. It's still very healthy for you. I'm not saying that you need to worry about that. Just this is what I go for personally. So we're gonna do those 4 eggs, and then we need 4 egg whites. And I like to just use the carton of egg whites. I can't stand to waste a good egg yolk. They are so healthy and nutritious for us. They do have that saturated fat, but they do have a lot of really good nutrients. So I don't want to waste an egg yolk. I just buy the carton, and you can use this in a lot of different things. So I like to go that route. And if you look at your carton, it will tell you how many eggs equal how many tablespoons or things like that. So for the whites of 4 large eggs, we need 3/4 of a cup. So we're just going to pour that in here. And also, if you don't quite have enough to spread across all of your muffins, I've had that happen before where for some reason it was just a little bit less than I needed, you can just top it with a little bit of those egg whites. So we are just going to scramble these guys up, whisk them all together. And we'll see you guys back in just a second when our vegetables are all sauteed. We're going to add those to our pan and mix it all up.
Introducing the Star Communications app. All the tools you need in one convenient location. You can access Watch TV everywhere. Check local channel lineup. Check your Star email. View and pay your Star bill. Report troubles. Use your Star security app. Check your home voicemail. Sign up for CrowdFiber. Check your Wi-Fi speed. The list keeps going and going. Download for free from the App Store or Google Play.
All right, we've got our vegetables all sauteed, and we are going to add just a little bit more to our egg mixture here. I'm going to throw just a little bit of milk in, not much, maybe a tablespoon, half a tablespoon, and this will just help to make it a little bit more fluffy as it starts to rise in the oven. And then we're just going to do any seasoning of choice. I just have a salt and pepper here. You could absolutely do whatever seasonings you enjoy. That everything but the bagel seasoning is very popular right now, and I do enjoy that on my eggs. There's tons of different seasonings out there, so you do what works best for you. I'm just going to do salt and pepper here, but you can make these whatever flavor you like. All right, so that's all mixed. We are going to add our veggies now. So I like to start off with filling the bottom with as much vegetables as I can. So you just go through and add those in. And I kind of do it so that at least the bottom is covered with vegetables. We also have ham here, and you can do no meat, you can do any meat that you choose. Bacon, turkey would be a little bit leaner. We just had ham available, so that is what we went with. I'm all about using what you have on hand. And part of that is just setting yourself up in terms of going grocery shopping, making sure that when you are at the grocery store, you get a good amount of things that you can use throughout the week to make things your own. Buying vegetables that you enjoy and all of those things. So we used all of those onions and bell peppers. Next, I'm gonna we'll add our spinach next. Now I just chopped this up. You could, like I said, you could cook this if you wanted to. I'm gonna try to pull out any stems I see. Not that those wouldn't cook down, but just because it makes sure that they are fully cooked through once they're in the oven. And spinach is one of those things that it cooks really quickly, so we don't have to worry about it not cooking all the way through that's why we didn't saute it. But you could have absolutely sauteed it if you preferred to do it that way. So we see those pretty colors throughout our little cups here. And we're getting all those good veggies in for breakfast. All right, up next we've got our ham. So I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of ham in here. I did also chop this up ahead of time. You could just rip it with your hands if you want. You could even take, if you had a piece of deli meat, you could lay it kind of towards the bottom and make that fit into the cup if you wanted to go that route. So there's lots of different options and ways to do this. You just do what's easiest for you. So we're talking about trying to make something that doesn't take a whole lot of time, that you don't have to put a lot of effort into. And this time of year, the less effort we can put into stuff like this, kind of the better for us, right? Because we just tend to be so busy. We're so involved with so many different things. So make it easy on yourself. And the key here is that we're really setting ourselves up for the day. So we have some really good protein here. We have some good vegetables that can also help to give us those vitamins and those nutrients that we want. And that is our goal at breakfast, is we want to have a really good hearty breakfast that covers all of our bases to get our brain thinking properly in the morning, to get our body moving, to keep us satisfied, so that we don't have to think about food for the rest of the day. All right, so, and I'm actually also gonna add my cheese. Let's not forget that. So if you don't like cheese, you don't have to add that in there. I feel like it gives it some good flavor. Just make sure that you are choosing the reduced fat. It usually has like a little blue line at the bottom, or it'll say it on the label. So just sprinkling our cheese in here. And this is just a little bit. So if you think about our My Plate and what our little cheese, our dairy section looks like, it's not a big section, right? It's just this little bitty circle at the top right of our My Plate. So it's just a sprinkle. I know we can get crazy. People love cheese, but we don't want to overindulge with that. All right, and so next, last part is just adding our egg mixture. So I'm just gonna, it's easiest if you do this in some type of measuring cup, because that way it's easier to pour. So I'm gonna start off just pouring about 3/4 full. They will rise some, but they're not gonna rise, you know, a whole lot once they're cooking. So I'm gonna finish these off, get these guys in the oven, and we will see you back in just 1 minute.
Sweetie, will you turn that down, please?
Keep life exciting, even when it's not. Watch TV everywhere from Star Communications.
All right, so we have our muffins in the oven. We filled those 3/4 cup full. I did have to add a little bit more egg whites to the top just because I couldn't quite make it stretch to my last muffin. Again, that depends on the size of your eggs. So I used large eggs. If we would have did a little bit larger, or if I would have added just a little bit more egg whites to it from the get-go, it probably would have stretched all the way through. So just be mindful of that you might have to adjust the amount of egg a little bit. So the next thing we're gonna be making is pumpkin spiced steel cut oats. And steel cut oats are gonna be your most, or I guess less processed oat that you can purchase. So the steel cut is gonna be that first processing to where they have rolled them out and chopped them up, but they have not dehydrated them and done all of the steps. So they're more in their natural form, which means that it's gonna help you to kind of extend. It's gonna take your body longer to actually break those down than like an instant oat, because instant oats have been cooked, they've then been rolled out, they've then been dehydrated. So they have went through all of these steps versus your regular oats have not. They've just been chopped up, and then your body is going to take longer to process that itself. So steel cut is the way to go. Now these are steel cut quick cooking oats, so there is probably still a little bit more processing than the straight up steel cut oats. Those are your goal to buy, but my store did not have those. This is all that I could find. So it is what it is. These will cook a little bit more quickly than your regular steel cut oats. Now, if you are using traditional steel cut oats, a Instant Pot is a great way to go because those take a lot longer to cook. They can take upwards of 30 to 45 minutes to cook. If they say quick oats, it's going to be faster. They're going to cook more quickly because they've been processed a little bit more. So just keep that in mind. We are still going to use an Instant Pot today, but we are going to lessen the time on our recipe because it's calling for those traditional oats. So what we are going to add, you need 1.5 cups of your oats, and then you also, our recipe calls for 4 cups of water. Since we have quick oats, we probably won't need quite as much. I'm going to cut down to 3 cups of water. So I'm just going to pour my water in and pour my oats in. And that's 1.5 cups in there. And then we have 3/4 of a cup of canned pumpkin. So this whole thing is 15 ounces, and 1 cup is 8 ounces. So I'm trying to do 3/4 of that 8-ounce cup. I am just going to eyeball this one. But pumpkin is, we are using the 100% pure pumpkin. We're not using the pumpkin pie puree. That's different. They add sugar and spices to that. Pure pumpkin, it's just pumpkin. It's cooked pumpkin that's been processed in a food processor, blended up, and that's all that there is to it. So this is still a very healthy vegetable. There's not, again, it's like you're adding vegetables to your oats, which is really great. Hard to do at breakfast time. So I did about half a can. I'm not worried about doing a little extra pumpkin in there because I love pumpkin anyways. And if you're worried about the flavor, it's not a very strong pumpkin flavor. It gives some creaminess and it gives some, just a hint of sweetness, but it's not gonna be overly sweet if you're just using pumpkin. All right, but this recipe is a maple pumpkin spice, so it's gonna taste more like your traditional pumpkin pie type spice that you might be thinking of. So next we do have brown sugar. We just have 2 tablespoons. So we're not adding a whole lot to this. But I'm gonna pack my brown sugar into my tablespoon here and dump it right in. All right, and we also have 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. So if you're one of those people that needs a sweeter breakfast, this one would be a good one for you. But it's still, again, I think we're getting 4 servings out of this. So it's not a whole lot of sugar per serving. This is for the whole batch. So you have to keep that in mind when you're adding sugar as well. All right. And then we just have our pumpkin pie spice. So if you don't have pumpkin pie spice, you could do a blend of cinnamon, of nutmeg, and of ground cloves and ginger. But pumpkin pie spice is really tasty. You can even add it to like coffee or something like that, and it'll give it almost like a pumpkin spice latte flavor. All right, so we've got that in. We are going to put our lid on, and then we're just gonna put it on the porridge setting. So there should usually be a porridge setting. If you don't have that, that's perfectly okay. You can just press pressure cook it on high. We're only gonna do it for about 8 minutes. The traditional time calls for 12. So just keep that in mind. If you have quick cooking oats, lower that time some. So we're gonna close that lid, get it started, and we'll see you guys back in just a second.
After completing my contract, I still have to buy out of it? Come on. Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping home secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody try to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
All right, so our muffins are done. They look absolutely delicious. You can see that they did fill up just nicely in our cups. So this was 3/4, maybe even a little past 3/4 full, and they fit perfectly in our muffin cups. So one thing with eggs, you want to make sure that they're cooked to the proper temperature. And the best way to know if it's cooked through, especially something like a muffin where it could still be gooey inside, is to take your digital thermometer and make sure it at least reaches 145. This is up to 160, so it's definitely cooked through. So just you can monitor that and make sure that it's cooked to your likeness. Personally, at 145, it's still a little bit more liquidy for me, so I like it cooked even past that. But these are good to go. They look delicious, and I cannot wait for us to try these. So I hope that you enjoy these at home as well. So we're just gonna scoot these over to the side, and we have our pumpkin oats ready also. And so with this, I ended up just cooking this in the Instant Pot on a saute feature because we didn't have the oats that we were looking for, and it was a little bit difficult in terms of getting all the stuff from the bottom. So you can do that as well. This would be a very easy one just to do on the stovetop. But it looks really good. One thing that we have to add is some milk. So the recipe calls for a whole cup of milk. We're gonna do not quite a whole cup. We're doing about 3/4 of a cup. And I'm actually gonna do a little bit of milk at a time and stir it in and just slowly kind of work it in that way. This will help to make it a little bit more creamy. And the reason why we add milk at the end, if you're doing something in an Instant Pot and it's very, very warm, that milk can actually begin to curdle. So that is why you do not put your dairy in until the very end of your cooking time. So just be mindful of that. But this looks so good. It's still got that pretty orange color to it. And it smells delicious. It smells like fall. It smells like a Christmas pumpkin pie that you might be enjoying. But you can have for breakfast. So we are going to just put this in our little bowl here. I don't trust myself to try to reach over to the bowl, so we're gonna fill it up this way. And it's got like that orange tint to it, so you can definitely see the pumpkin. It looks really good. And to top this off, we're just gonna add some walnuts. Now our recipe calls for pecans, for you just to add some chopped pecans to it. Instead of that, we are gonna do walnuts again, using what I have on hand. So if I don't have chopped pecans, find another nut that you have at home that you enjoy. You could do almonds, you could do, like we're doing here, walnuts. Cashews might even give it a little bit of a different flavor. But the key here too is to make sure that they're the unsalted. They're not the ones that have salt added to them, because that can definitely affect the flavor of your oatmeal as well. So this makes a pretty decent sized batch. You could throw this in the fridge and just eat on it throughout the week. Now, one way to heat this back up would be to, again, add just a little bit of milk to it. Something like oatmeal, it tends to almost dry out. Think about mashed potatoes. You know, over time, the next day they're just not quite as good. You need to add a little bit of something to it to make it creamy again. Same concept here with your oatmeal. So you could add just a little bit of milk to it, heat it up, add a little bit of milk and stir it in, heat it up again, and just do that until you get the consistency that you want. But I hope that you enjoy these meals. These are super easy recipes that you can do, make ahead for the entire week. You have quick, easy breakfast to go, and it's things that it's going to fill you up, satisfy you. You're getting vegetables in your oatmeal and in your eggs. So a way to sneak those vegetables in, and I hope that you guys have a great holiday. We will see you guys next time.